Okay, so this is the chapter. It's about the project management process groups. Now, when we say process, it is clear to you. You definitely heard about processes all the way when we started the your program here. In most of our courses, we use this term. So process is anything that has steps, actions that you are doing in order to accomplish something. So it's a series of actions directed toward a particular result. These processes usually follow sequential term. And in project management, we have developed these process groups. So what we did here is that, or the author did, is that they took the project life cycle, and based on this, the logic of the life cycle, they developed these groups. They put these processes according to these groups, and we had at the end these 5 processes: initiation processes, planning processes, executing processes, monitoring and controlling processes, and closing processes. Now, in this chapter, we want to map these processes with the knowledge area that we studied in chapter 1. Okay, so what we did here, just I want to show you, I want you to understand the mapping that we are doing here. Now we have these process groups, right, which are based on the project life cycle: initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. And we had these 10 knowledge areas, okay? Integration management, scope management, time management, cost management, quality management, resource management, or human resource. It used to be human resource. In the new edition, they changed it to resources only. Communication management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholders management. Again, in the previous editions, 6, I think, yeah, 6, it was only 9 areas. Now they became 10 areas. They included stakeholders as an area in this. Okay, so now we have these 4. So what they did is that they had also processes. Okay, and these processes are related to, these will be the intersection between the groups and the knowledge area. Now I will show you a table later, but before that I want you to understand it, because if you see the very large table with lots of information, maybe it will confuse you. But let me show you here. Now we have these 3 things. Okay, now I'll draw something here. Okay, so what we did is that we have this kind of table. Okay, and at the top, let me just draw these first. Okay, change this to color. At the top, we kept the processes. Okay, so these are the process group. Okay, so we have initiation, okay, we had the planning, execution, monitor and control, and closing. Okay, Then these are the columns. Then on the row side, we have we have the knowledge areas. Okay, so we have integration, we have scope, time, we have cost, okay, and so on. Now, in the intersection will be these processes. Okay, so they took these processes and they add them. Okay, and they add them here. So you might have a process here, another process here. Okay, here, here, here. You might have like 1, 2, 3, 3 processes. Okay, 2 processes, maybe 1 process here, 4 here, 2 here. Okay, so you might have different processes based on the nature of the knowledge area. Okay, this is how they develop the coming table that I'm going to show you. So how do we read this? We say that in the initiation phase, okay, let me change the color also here. So, okay, in the initiation phase, okay, you need to consider 1, 2, 3, 4 areas. In the initiation, you focus on integration, scope, and these two things. So this is where these are the processes that you're going to implement in the initiation phase, okay? Or yeah, in the beginning of the project. Then when it comes to the planning, we will focus on integration, time, post, okay, and this. So this is how you read this table, okay? So for example, time in the initiation is not there, okay? So there are no processes related to time in the initiation, okay? Like this. So this is how they develop the coming table. So now let's go to the next table. So you can see here, these are the process groups, okay? Initiation, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing. And these are the knowledge areas, okay? Integration, scope management, time management, and in the next slide also, you'll see these as well. Here you can see what are the processes that you're going to do in the initiation phase. We have 1, develop project charter. This is a process, okay? You have to develop a project charter. And there will be a deliverable on this, okay? Is this the only process that you are going to do in the initiation phase? No, because if you go down here also, we have the identifying stakeholders. In the knowledge area of stakeholders, we also have 1 process. So this means that in initiation, we have 2 processes to conduct. Okay, now come to the planning. Same, you have here 1 in the integration. Here 1, 2, 3. You have 3 processes here. Okay, maybe it's better to be consistent. It's fun. Erased everything. Anyway, I'll go back. Okay, so you have here 1. Okay, here now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, okay, and so on. So you can see now that the planning phase, you almost have everything covered in all the knowledge areas. This is why we always say that, or I will ask you this question: what is the important? What are the most 3 important phases or 3 tasks that you have to do in a project? Can you answer me, please? Number 1, in a project.
Planning.
Planning. Number 2.
Organizing.
No. Planning. Number 3.
Planning.
Planning. So planning. Planning is very important in the project life cycle. If you plan well, then you will execute well, because the execution is just implementing what you did last. So your plan is the guide for the execution. So what you are going to execute is what you plan. If you do good planning, you will do good execution. If you do poor planning, then you will do poor in executing. And that's why we want to ensure that in planning, we cover all the knowledge areas. And that's why you see there are processes in each and every knowledge area that we cover. Okay? And then similarly, in the execution and monitoring and closing, okay, you see the processes that are related to that area. Now, from here, we will start looking at the knowledge areas and what are the processes in each of this. So we will take next chapter when we talk about scope integration management, okay, first one here, then we will cover these processes. Okay, in the chapter after, we will cover scope, then we will look at these processes, and so on. This is how the course is divided. Okay, so I think this is now clear to you. Now, we always mention this already. We always need to follow a methodology, as we mentioned earlier in chapter 1 and 2. We need to follow some kind of a methodology, whether it is something taken from a well-known body in the field, or the organization itself develops its own methodology. You have the choice. Okay, so we need to follow a methodology so that we get the best practices. We don't miss any kind of any part of the project, any factors that might affect the project that you didn't take into consideration. If you follow methodology, you will be mostly you cover all of the aspects. And there are many examples here, like Prince2. If you follow the agile method, you follow Six Sigma, there are many out there. Before we start the processes, the groups, the 5 groups, there's also one we call the pre-initiation phase or group of processes. And in this phase, in the pre-initiation, this is before starting the project, we do these tasks. We determine the scope, time, and cost constraints for the project. So first, we need to know what is the scope, what we are going to do. In general, and it's not a detailed scope. So we say, okay, we are developing a mobile application for student registration, for example, in the university. Time, we have 3 months to complete this project. The cost, roughly, around maybe 3,000 dinars. Okay, so these are the constraints. You identify the project sponsor. Who's going to sponsor this project? Okay, that's the university's administration. They will sponsor. So these are our sponsors. We need to know them. No? Then who's going to manage this project? Okay, so we need to select the project manager. And now we need to sell this idea to the top management that this project is very important. This mobile application, if we develop it, our students will benefit. We will reduce our cost. We will reduce the effort on the registration department. So now you need to give this business justification for the top management. Okay, and we say that the business perspective is always looking at benefits and costs, right? What are the costs and what are the benefits? And we need to ensure that at least our benefits are higher than the cost. So this is where we write the business case, or we develop the business case. Meeting with the project manager. Now, here, if you can see that here we are talking about the stage before the project manager is assigned, right? So there's someone who's preparing these things, okay? It could be a project manager, but usually in organizations, they have the PMO, the project management office. They will do all of these things, and they will select the project manager, and then they will arrange the meeting of the project manager with the stakeholders or the sponsors. Okay, and then at this stage, you might decide to divide the project into two smaller projects. Why do we go for full-fledged system development? Let us go for this part first as a pilot, or just to ensure that we don't have lots of things to do and we just track the project. So we start this part done, completed, then we can start another project. Okay, and like so, the decision can happen at this stage. But after that, we start the initiation process. When the project manager is selected, now it's the project manager turn to start working. So in the project initiation, we will have now if you go back to these, now I'm trying to look at the phases. Okay. Okay, I'm trying to look at these. Okay, so the phases. So here in the initiation phase, we have two knowledge areas. Remember, we have one here, okay, and we have one here, right? Okay, so these are the two knowledge areas, and these are the here you will see the processes. Okay, each process will have an outcome. Okay, in this process you have to develop a project charter. So the outcome will be what the project charter document, and also identifying stakeholders will result in a stakeholder register. So in this phase, you basically or officially starting the project. So it is formally selecting the staff, selecting the staff mainly, and then you start the project by defining the scope and defining the timeline, and all these will be covered in the project charter. We will explain it back later in the next chapter. Okay, what is it that we have to include in the project charter? So this is the initiation, it's the formal start of the project. this is one of the output, which is the stakeholder register. Okay, it will be something like this. You have the name, position. Is this member an internal staff or external staff? Because in some projects you need, for example, a consultant to help you, an advisor. So this will be external. So we need to identify them here, and we need to have their contact details so that we can communicate with them. And notice here that we have project role and the position. The position is your title, your position in the organization, but the project role is what is it that you are going to do in this project. This is your role in the project. Okay, there is a difference between them. This is also another document that's created after identifying the stakeholders. We need to have what we call the project stakeholder management strategy. You decide on the strategy of how you're going to manage your stakeholders. Okay, and this is an example here. But this document is very sensitive because you are going to talk about people, about their behavior, about their personality. So this should not go out. It's just, it has to be with the project manager only. This is the project charter. Okay, this is just an example. Project charters comes in different forms, but you can see here that these are the main areas. A project charter will have the project name. Okay, when the project will start. So you have the date, starting date. It will have the business case. So if you read here, you will see that they are trying to justify why this project is happening. You also need to cover the scope, what is in the scope and what is outside the scope. In some projects, to remove any misunderstanding of the scope, you have to be very specific about what is it that you're going to do, what is in the scope, and also you have to mention that you are not going to do this. Okay, so it is not included in the scope, and we call it the out of scope. Okay, you also have some measures about the goals. Okay, usually for this project they have dates. In some projects you might have your measures will be monetary figures. If you reach some reduction in the cost or revenue obtained, so you can also add them here. You add the team members, okay, and their roles. You have to identify the key deliverables. Okay, what are the key deliverables of the phases of the project? So for example, here you can see that there is the organization chart, approved organizational chart, finalized budget. So see, finalized budget is not a system, it's not a product, it is a document, but it's a deliverable. Okay, and so on. And here you will have the timeline. Okay, you should put a brief timeline of the main milestones of the project. And milestone is a set of some activities. When you complete them, you complete a milestone. Okay, so this is it has to be also mentioned in the project charter, and you state the dates also. When are these going to be achieved or planned? You also need to cover some of the budget or the financial aspects of this project. Okay, how much it will cost, and how it's going to impact the business in terms of money. Okay, so here it says the investment. So this is the cost. Okay, the investment will be 1.2 million, and the business impact, it will increase the product demand by 10%. So this is the financial aspect of the project. We also need to cover some of the risks. Okay, what risk that we are taking in this project. Okay, so you have to write it in the project charter. Also, if there are any if there's any information that you know that will restrict this project, or some assumptions that you're taking for granted to start this project, you should also mention them. Okay, and these are here in this area. So this is an example. Some project charters will not have all of these, and some will have. Yani it depends. Okay, but the more that you put, the better. Okay, because this will be approved by the sponsor, and later on, as a project manager, you will be responsible to deliver whatever is written here. Okay,